Hello and welcome to Dorinda. I've been really looking forward to having this chat slash interview with you, a fellow recovery of autoimmune diseases, in fact. And so today I would like to interview you, or rather just allow you to tell us your story, to tell us what you went through and how you turned your potential rock bottom and crisis and potential weakness into a huge positive, not only to help yourself, but to help other people as well to heal themselves from chronic illness. So I'm super excited. I'll just let you have the floor, but just introduce you a little bit. You run True Wellness Today, which is a program that you run to help to train people or to teach people or to put people through a program so that they can heal themselves. And also you are a scientist. So you did a PhD in autoimmunity, is that right?
Mm-hmm.
Excellent. And so I thought that meant that you were actually a doctor. I think I said that to you last time, but you've done a PhD, so that means you have a doctorate, or how does that work?
Well, here's the thing that happened to me is I got sick while I was almost done working on my doctorate, right? And so, if I had finished that PhD, I was 4.5 years into it. And so I was nearly done. I had finished all the classwork. I had finished all of the research that I was supposed to be doing. I was halfway done writing my thesis. And my advisor said, well, let's just go for another year. And by that time, I was so sick, I was like, yeah, no, I need time off. And
Yeah.
then I got so sick that I couldn't continue. So basically almost finished that PhD and got all the training and everything else in my brain, but don't have the letters behind my name.
Okay. Well, thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
So
So
yeah.
I won't allow people to call me doctor,
Oh, I
right?
see. So it
Even
would
though
technically
I have the training, but I also have my master's degree, so we can put those letters there, and
yeah.
that's okay.
Yeah. Okay. Well, thanks for clarifying that. Excellent. So I'll let you just have the floor and please share what happened to you. How did you get ill? How did you get well? And then perhaps afterwards a little bit about your program and how you run that.
Yeah. So I was like, the typical go-getter single mom, had that perfect mom syndrome, had to do it all. I was in school, I was working, I was doing everything I could do, to just be perfect, right? Which we all know is very stressful, right? So I had suffered with symptoms going back to my teenage years. But of course, people are saying, oh, well, it's just migraines, or, oh, well, it's just you got, plantar fasciitis in your feet, or, oh, well, you just have a little bit of gut issue. Oh, well, you just have IBS. No one ever put it all together as the beginning of autoimmunity, but that's exactly what we know now today that it was.
Mm.
And when I started in college, I was all gung ho about being an immunologist, and then I got in touch with an advisor who was an immunotoxicologist, so the study of toxins on the immune system.
Okay.
And then I started learning about autoimmunity and just went ape, just thought, oh, this is where I'm going to specialize. This is so exciting. There's so little that they know about it, and there's so much help that we can do for people. And so I got really excited about that, not even realizing that I was developing my own autoimmune diseases. I had no clue, right? And the people around me had no clue. The specialists that I had no clue, right? Um, but so I was working on my master's, finished that, was working the whole time I was going to school. So just a crazy schedule, while taking care of my daughter, who also had some pretty severe issues with her health and her emotional health, especially. And so there was a lot going on. And so I was 13 years into my career as a scientist. while I was finishing my PhD, when I couldn't go on anymore. I had been developing more and more symptoms, and they were getting very severe. The fatigue was getting severe, the pain in my joints, and I was having skin issues. I wasn't able to move my fingers as well. I was having memory issues. I was even starting to have aphasia, which is the loss of words, where you know what you want to say, but you're just standing there, you can't say it, you can't
Wow.
find the words. I was having a lot of issues. My migraines were getting worse. It was crazy. And my advisors said, well, you're just overworked and stressed and everything. And why don't you just take a year off from your PhD program and you can come back in a year and finish it up. Right. And they said, oh, yes, this happens to everybody. Right. We all get burnout when we work that hard. Okay.
Mhm.
Well, I knew that there was something more. My body was just really failing. And it took them a little while, but and I kept working, but stopped the PhD program for a little while, but kept working, but was just getting worse and worse. And finally, I got the diagnosis. Finally, somebody, you would have you'd have thought that it might have been me because here was my specialty, or maybe my advisors around me. But no, it took a regular PCP to say, I think you have autoimmune disease. And I was like, no, I'm a specialist in that. I would know better.
I know all about that.
I know all about that. Oh, no, 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 no. That's not what's happening with me. Oh, no.
Mhm.
Yeah, it was. And so they diagnosed me with scleroderma with severe fibromyalgia first.
Okay.
Within about a year, they were diagnosing me with arthritis. Within another year, they're diagnosing me with thyroiditis, which later became Hashimoto's with all the antibodies and everything. I had severe IBS, which later they, did the endoscopy and they said, oh, well, you have Crohn's disease.
Oh,
It was
wow.
like bing, bang, bing, bang, boom. And they're giving me diagnosis after diagnosis and medication after medication after medication.
Yeah.
And I basically realized, okay, right, lady, you're screwed. Life is over. And the specialists are saying, you'll be lucky if you have 10 years, 20 at the max, right? And so they're basically handing me a life of a death sentence, basically, and saying, that's it.
So
You
they
can't
gave
work.
you, sorry to interrupt you, they gave you 10 years and they
They gave me
predicted
10
that
years.
that was it, then you would die probably within 10 years.
Right. They said, if you're lucky, some people can go as long as 20 years with this illness. But, they said that's if you're really lucky.
So let's just get
Right.
this straight. So you were diagnosed with scleroderma, fibromyalgia, Crohn's disease, and what else was it you mentioned?
There were 7 of them altogether. Right. So Hashimoto's,
Hashimoto's.
arthritis. Then they found lupus antibodies. They also found later on that I had Addison's disease. The Addison's disease was actually caused by the high dose steroids that they had me on for so many years. Right. My whole body was just a mess. And I accepted it. I just went, well, all right. According to all my training at the highest conventional level, they're telling us, well, there is no cure. We don't know why it's happening. We've got some theories, but there's basically no cure. You just help with the symptoms until the person dies. Right? That's basically all we do.
Yeah.
And so I accepted that. I didn't know anything else. And I accepted that. And I am a very strong born again Christian. So I just looked to God and I just said, okay, Lord, it's in your hands. If this is the life that you're choosing for me, I'm sure there's a purpose in it somewhere. I can't imagine for the life of me what that purpose would be. But here I am. Right. So I was raising my granddaughter by myself because my daughter has some very severe issues. So, it was a really difficult life for a while. My husband only lasted for about a year before he just threw his hands up in the air and said, yeah, this is not the life I wanted to lead. I'm not supposed to be taking care of a sick wife. And he ran out,
Wow.
leaving me with my sick daughter and a new baby. With me
Nice.
being so sick. Yeah, life was pretty darn hard. Yeah, it was. And, if I didn't have the Lord, I probably would have given up.
Yeah, I get that. I get that. Wow, because a
Yeah.
lot of people, they would normally be given one or maybe two labels or autoimmune diseases, but to have that many and
Yeah.
in quite a quick succession, one after the other.
One after the other. I mean, it
And
was like
life,
within about 4 years, I had like 5 diagnoses. And then another year I had another diagnosis. It's just like, it was insane. It was like, I would, you know, look at my friends and just say, when they asked me how I was doing, I'd just say, well, sadly, my body seems to be just completely failing me and falling apart slowly, little by little. And, I kind of wish it would just be over with. But the problem is that, like, my biggest fear was that I would die too soon before my granddaughter was raised. And my first diagnosis came when she was 3. So, I mean, we had a lot of years to go here. And, I knew that I might not make it. And that, the thought of her having to go to foster care, that was like my worst fear. Like, I didn't really care what happened to me. I knew that if I died, I'm going to go be with Jesus and all is going to be good.
Yeah.
But that would leave her, by herself, and there's really no one else in the family to take care of her. So she'd be in foster care, and that poor kid has just been through enough, right? So
Yeah.
that was my biggest fear.
So she must have given you a lot of the motivation that you needed to seek some help, or to look for some sort of answer, so you could look after her, you could take care of her and have a life. And I know that you're a big believer in mind and body as well. Would you yourself put psychological issues or trauma in the preceding stages, so leading up to you becoming ill? Would you connect those dots?
Oh, big time. Absolutely. Absolutely. And we see that across the board. We see that trauma and high stress situations are like the catalysts that put people over the edge. It's not what causes the autoimmune or the chronic illness, but it is an extra, like it's the, the straw that broke the camel's back, right? Because our traumas, our emotional issues raise inflammation in real time. And that's what it's all about. That's what all the science is boiling down to, is that the reason why we're sick is because our inflammation rises to a point where our bodies can no longer take it, and it starts destroying tissues, right? And so, and that's what functional medicine is all about. Of course, we're getting a little ahead of ourselves, but it's all about lowering your chronic inflammation in every way that we know how. And so that you can turn down the tissue damage, turn it off, right, and heal. Right?
Exactly. So what started you on that journey then? How did you go about looking for alternatives or a way to heal?
Yeah, so this was a total God thing. I cannot take any credit for this or say that I was smart in any way. Because what actually happened to me is I was about 14 years into my illness. So I was past that 10-year mark.
Yeah.
And, always afraid that, well, I could go at any time. And right. And I was in a very severe flare. It was actually the worst flare I'd ever felt. It was going on 2 weeks long. I honestly was really afraid that this might be the end, that it was, I'm getting close here because this is the worst. And my medications weren't working. I mean, it was awful. And I could barely get out of bed just to go to the bathroom.
I know
And
that
so,
feeling.
yeah. So I remember laying there having to go for a long time and then thinking, I got to get up. I got to go to the bathroom. So I got to the bathroom, but on my way back from the bathroom, I collapsed. And as I collapsed, I was home alone. And as I collapsed, I just, it was like this whole dramatic scene you can imagine, where I lost it emotionally, and I just cried out to the Lord. And I was literally like laying there on the floor bawling. And I just cried out to the Lord, and I just said, Lord, please, no, you can't take me yet. I've got to raise Jana. I can't do this. You can't take me now, please don't. And then I was almost angry. I was like, my God, I'm a scientist. If there's anything I'm missing, would you just show me, please? Just show me what I can do. And the truth is that he answered that prayer just like that, right? And one of the few times in my life where I can actually say that I cried out to the Lord, he answered me absolutely immediately. And what happened was I crawled back up into bed and I turned on the TV to distract myself. Right. We all know how good the TV is as a good distractor when you're in pain or whatever. So I turned on the TV and right away what popped up was the YouTube video and it said scleroderma and functional medicine. And I went, well, that's ridiculous. Right. Here I am. I'm this arrogant scientist. Right. I got all the knowledge. Nobody can teach me nothing. Right. And God kept, just tapping on my shoulder and going, you go back and you watch that video. You go back and you watch that video. And it bothered me so much that I even said it out loud to him. I said, you want me to watch the video? Okay. So I did. I did. I watched the video. And as I was watching it, this video, it was perfect. It spoke exactly to me. It showed me research study after research study after research study of how people were actually getting excellent results, lowering their chronic inflammation, stopping the progression of their autoimmune disease. And they were talking specifically about scleroderma, but not only stopping the progression of the tissue damage, but actually reversing the tissue damage. And I went, what the... Are you kidding me? And I realized right away, and I just started crying again. And I just said to the Lord, I'm like, oh my gosh, you just answered my prayer, didn't you?
What kind of methods did they give as examples in that video for how to do that?
Yeah, it's basically functional medicine. This is what functional medicine is all about. It's about finding your root causes of the chronic inflammation that's causing the problem, right? And so they were showing how, look at all the different root causes that we know of in the sciences. We know that your gut microbiome plays an integral role with your immunity and how resilient your immune system is, or whether your immune system is overreacting some, as in the case of autoimmunity, or whether it's underreacting. It all has very much to do with the health of your gut microbiome. And then they talked about the mitochondria and how the mitochondria become affected. And those are your little energy cells. And how when the mitochondria are healthy and well, based on good gut health, because that's what controls mitochondrial health again, right? Then the whole body gets well. And then they talked about the toxins that we're exposed to. And that's when my brain went, okay, because I'm an immunotoxicologist. And I just went, hold on here. Oh my gosh, you can talk to me about toxins in the immune system and how they affect the immune system. And they just, study after study after study, right? And I went, and they were showing how when people find the toxins, they do all these different, there's cutting edge science testing now out there. And when you find the toxins and then you start doing a protocol to remove those toxins out of the tissues, and you do it slowly and carefully, right? People got better and better and better. And it makes perfect sense, right? Like if the immune system is fighting on 7 different fronts, because it's fighting what's going on in your gut, and it's fighting what's going on in your mitochondria, and it's fighting all these toxins, right? And when does it have time to heal you? Right? Right? So, you get all the toxins out of the way, and you fix the gut, and you fix the mitochondria, and you find whatever other little invisible infections might be there, and you get rid of those, right? You clear all that up, and the people get better. And why are they getting better? Because the immune system now devotes more of its energy into producing stem cells that heal you. It's just amazing. It's just amazing. So the bottom line is I watched that video, and even though I was skeptical, I did what any good scientist would do. I did a meta-analysis of the data that's out there. I didn't just believe the video. I went straight to PubMed and started doing my research, just like I was taught, and found the truth that basically, yes, there is excellent science, not just, little studies. We're talking excellent science and tons of it. And, there's really literally over 600,000 research papers now and research studies that have been done on this. And so, hands down, we know now that, yeah, there's so much we can do to heal. We just have to teach people how to do it. So I had to learn how to do it. I had to get, good people around me. I had to be trained in functional medicine. I had to get help. And once I did, I started healing, and took about 2 years to get to a place where I felt like, okay, I'm no longer that sick woman that I used to be, but I still had more to go after that too. Right. So it took time.
Yeah.
But it worked. And I am now considered 95% healed.
Wow. Congratulations, Dorinda. Honestly, it's fascinating to hear. It's also really interesting that a lot of people have that same initial reaction. That was my initial reaction. When someone suggested alternatives to me, I was so skeptical. And I trained as a nurse, so I would think, oh yeah, I know most things about the body, about health, about medicine. And really, isn't it a shame that as scientists and doctors and nurses, we're not trained in functional medicine, in gut health, in the mind and body connection, in mitochondrial health, and all the things you were talking about. It's really fascinating. And that but there are more and more people speaking out, professionals, doctors, and physicists as well, speaking out now about these alternatives, because the evidence now is overwhelming, isn't it?
They can't deny it anymore. And they're even starting to teach about gut health in medical schools, and they're starting to teach about nutrition and genetics and how your food affects your genetic expression in real time and changes things, right? They're starting to teach about that in medical schools here in the States, but they're in its infancy, which is very frustrating. There was even a scientific study that was done about how long it takes for the new science, a new discovery that could truly help people, how long it actually takes to get down into the hands of the people themselves. And the average was 17 years.
Wow.
17 years.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous. Yeah. It really is. And, it makes people angry because you're sitting there going, I could be dead in 17 years. If we've got the science right now, why not be using it?
Yeah.
Right.
Exactly.
So thank God that there are people like Dr. Oz out there, and Dr. Mark Hyman, and a lot of other people who are very famous and on the bandwagon and teaching us how to heal. Right.
Exactly. Putting it all together and giving people options and choices, which and people have a right to know that for example, I had the same thing said to me, that this is it. This is all we can do for you now. You just need to learn to live with it. And I did for years. I listened to them, to this medical advice. And people have a right to know that there are other things they can do to help themselves, that it's not a death sentence for them. It's so important. And that's why we're here, isn't it? To spread the word and to give people hope.
Right. And let's all remember that, unfortunately, and I say this in a nice way, but it is the truth that, because I'm probably going to get some hate mail for saying this, but it is the truth that when we are highly educated, we do get a little arrogant, and we do think that we know so much, we know it all. When in reality, if we're humble, we have to admit that we're learning more and more and more about medicine, about our bodies, about biology, day after day after day. I mean, there's an exponential growth of the rate of learning, We don't know it all. There is so much more still to learn, even though we've got a lot of newer tools in the last 20 years, there is still so much that we could learn. And I think that as professionals, we need to be a lot more humble, right?
Exactly. And open-minded as well, to keep our minds open.
Yes,
And like you said, not to
yes,
think that we know everything. Often it takes hitting rock bottom and
yeah.
being desperate enough to look for something else, because that's
And that's,
the situation that I was in. And I know I speak for a lot of people that
yeah,
really, like you said, we know nothing. The only thing is that we know we need to learn more. And there is so much more out there. You know, I'm
yes.
learning new things every week about these new
Mhm.
therapies and new treatment protocols in the alternative field, things that I've never heard of, you know, and it's absolutely
Yes,
fascinating, because
yes,
the
it is.
broader we can have our scope, the more open we are to healing, basically.
Yeah. And what the beauty of it all is that, yeah, there's some really cool treatments out there and brand new things that have to do with physics and, right. There are all these really neat things out there, but most of our own healing goes back to what we should have known a couple of hundred years ago.
Yeah.
And now science is discovering that, oh yeah, you know how grandma told you to eat your vegetables? Yeah, she was right. You know, right? How chicken soup, why is chicken soup so good for you? Well, now we know why. Right? Now we know the science behind it. Right?
Exactly.
Um, it boils down to us going back to basics, to taking care of our bodies the way God intended them to be taken care of in the first place, with a high amount of vegetables, with good healthy fats, with clean proteins, and get rid of all the junk in our nutrition. Things that pass for nutrition are pure junk. It's not food, it's junk, right? And most of the grocery store is nothing but processed junk that's making us sick,
Absolutely.
right? So we've got to
Absolutely.
learn how to be responsible for our own health. That's like the number one thing. It's not an easy fix, and in order to get healthy again and maintain our health, we've got to be willing to make some serious changes and be very intentional and very responsible
Mm.
about our health, and be willing to put ourselves first. And I think, I'm always saying this to my clients, especially us as women, um, we tend to take care of everyone else first,
Very true.
right? And put ourselves last. And then what happens is we wind up getting sick. And, when mama gets sick, then who's going to take care of the family? Right. So we really need, I'm always teaching my clients, take that hour out for yourself every day. And in that hour, you can get yourself a good, healthy smoothie made that will last you for the whole day. That's tons of vegetables and all your good nutrients that you need in it. You can get your supplements taken. You can get some exercise. You can go outside and get a little sunshine so that you can sleep at night. That's all part of new science for your circadian rhythm health. And wow, there's so many things that you can do to help yourself get healthy just in 1 hour a day, if you're just willing to give yourself the love that you need and give yourself that 1 hour a day,
Exactly.
right?
Exactly.
Very powerful.
Yeah. Very much so. Very much so. Wow, it's lovely to hear your journey. Really lovely to hear, and very encouraging for lots of people out there, I'm sure, that maybe feel like there's no hope for them, that there's a lot that can be done. So maybe you could tell us a bit about your program that you run and how that works, what's involved in that, if people are interested in going through that program to heal themselves.
Yeah. So the program basically comes down, it's not my program. It basically comes down from what we know in the science that works, right? We're not going, off scale with all these crazy things that are not really proven yet, right? What we know works. So the program basically does a full evaluation first, then starts you off with a really good gut protocol, teaches you why it's important important, takes you through a full 8 months of teaching and training and then helping you and guiding you. So it's not that people just, get a bunch of videos and have to do it on their own. Our program, we're right in there with you, step by step, every single day. And I think that that's what's important. I know that that's what helped me, being able to have a team of people around me who I could call at any moment and say, I'm confused about this symptom, or this is happening and I need to know, right? When you have to wait 4 to 6 weeks between a doctor appointment and then you only get 10 minutes with that doctor, it's going to take you forever to heal. Right. So we don't do that. We're following, straight functional medicine guidelines, right? Doing everything we know and teaching everything we know to heal. So whatever root cause we can find, we're going to find it, right? From your nutritional problems to even mental health, neurochemical problems, to your mitochondrial and energy health, to invisible infections, to your toxins. We're going to do all the testing, find out what's going on as your root causes, and then teach you how to fix them, but not just teach it to you and let you go, but show you how to do it and then walk with you, hold your hand as you're doing it. And I think, that's the most important part, because there's plenty of books out there. There's plenty of self-help programs that, that people do and that they read, but do they really get well? No, these people come to me all the time and they're like, well, I bought this one book and I'm following it, but yeah, I know I need my testing, but I find it really hard to stick to. Yeah, because you need a community of loving people around you, right? And so that's what the program does. It's done in small groups. And well, if people want to do it privately, we'll let them. But, we really don't want you to, because that group community aspect of different people suffering with pretty much the same things, coming together and supporting one another and loving one another. And then you've got, your scientist in your back pocket, you've got her team helping you, you've got, yeah, right. That's when mentally, emotionally, we can really make this happen, because it starts right here, right?
Yeah,
Really
I think
does.
it's really important to have that support, because when you're doing it on your own, it's easy to fall off the bandwagon. It'd be the same as if, that's why they have diet groups. They have diet support groups, don't they? If people want to lose weight, do it as a team. Doing anything in a team of learning and supporting is really fantastic.
It really is. And I see this every month when we start a new group. People get bonded with these people that are total strangers in the beginning.
Yeah.
And, by the end, they're totally bonded to each other. And they're like, oh, I just love these people. And I love my group. And, it's really beautiful. It really is.
Fantastic. And so if people want to sign up for your program, maybe you can tell us how they can find you. I mean, can people from all over the globe join in? How does that work? You're all online at the moment.
Yeah. The program is totally taught all online, even all of your personal test results and everything that all of our private consultations, which we have a lot of them. It's not just group consultations, a lot of private consultations involved. They're all done by Zoom. So I'm always telling people, hey, if you speak English and we can understand each other, then you can go through this program. It doesn't matter where you live, right? As long as you got a good Zoom connection, you're set to go. But, I should also say that we don't accept everyone into our program, right? We want to make sure that you're ready. So what we do is we have put together a really awesome 2-hour masterclass that they can watch for free. And while they're watching that, they're hearing my full story. They are getting a lot of good research information that they can go off and do things with themselves, right? And they can go read the papers and read the books and watch the videos, and they can really understand that, yes, this is possible. The science is real. You can do this. And then once people are ready, truly ready to jump in with both feet and do a program like this, then what we want you to do is just do a free appointment. And so that we can sit down and talk to you, make sure that you're ready, right? Make sure you're going to be good with this, right? Because it's going to take some change. It really is.
Mm-hmm.
It is going to take some change. And there are some people that just aren't ready.
Yeah.
Right?
I fully agree with you. Fully agree with you.
Yeah.
Not
They're just not ready. Yeah. And we know because they ask questions like, well, I really don't want to give up my soda, or I really like drinking wine every night, but I'm not willing to give that up. Well, then you're not ready. Yeah. Because these are things that you really have to do in order to change your gut health and get well. And let me just say the truth here, that now that I'm well, do I have a glass of wine with my friends? Sure. Right? But I still have to maintain my own gut health. And while I was healing, if I wanted to drink wine every night with my friends, no, that would not have worked. Right? And so we want to make sure that people understand that, yeah, now that your body is sick, there's some significant changes that you have to make to get your body well again. And we want people to get great results. So we want to make sure they're ready before we accept them into a program like this. So if they're not ready, then, we give them some awesome books to read and we help them to get ready.
Exactly.
Right?
It's a bit of a process, isn't it? Where people, like you said, people need to be ready to make changes. So maybe some people need to get a bit sicker before they're ready, I find. And really, it's individual. It's very individual. Maybe they'll be ready once they need to ease into it and read up on it and know what's involved, and then they can maybe mentally prepare to be ready at a later point in the future. Yes. A lot of people who are in this state, so to speak, are chronically ill, have autoimmune diseases, have different issues. They also are on a budget. So perhaps you could give us an indication of, is this program affordable for people, or for people that are on healthcare and on minimal income, they're sick, they can't work? How does that work in your program?
Well, I thank you for bringing that up too, is because when I was sick and I first started learning, and I did all my research on functional medicine, and I knew that I needed to find a good doctor to help me. I researched all the different programs that were out there, and they averaged anywhere between $7,000 to $15,000, right, in order to go through a full functional medicine program. Now, here I was living on Social Security disability. I was only making about $1,300 a month, and I'm raising a kid on that, right? In San Diego, California, which is a very expensive place to live, right?
Okay, I didn't know that, yeah.
Yeah, I was digging in my change drawer in the car for milk money, okay? There was no way I had $7,000 to $10,000 to go through a program. And it took me about 3 months of calling different places, hearing that over and over, asking people, well, do you have a payment plan, or how can you help people who are really broke and don't have the money to go through your program? And the kind of answers that I got really shocked me, which really made me angry. It made me cry a lot. Really, I cried in total desperation because I was told, well, can you mortgage your house?
Wow.
Well, can you go get a credit card? Wow. Right?
Yeah.
No, I've been on disability for 15 years. How am I supposed to qualify for a credit card? No, I don't own my home anymore. I lost my home because I was so broke. Yeah. Right?
Nice. No wonder you cried.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yes. Right. And so when I got well, and this whole story, I know we don't have time for the whole thing, but the whole story is in the masterclass. So you got to go watch that masterclass. But
I haven't watched it. Very good.
Yeah. So I made a vow to God that, because I knew that it was that, this was the whole purpose for me being sick in the first place. It was not only me learning how, everything about autoimmune disease, but then having to suffer with it and then having to learn how to come back from it. And now the whole purpose in all of that suffering is for me to be able to help other people to do it. Right. So that's the purpose for my whole life. And I vowed to the Lord that this is going to be affordable. It has to be affordable. I never, ever, ever want someone to feel the way I did for those 3 months. Well, when I knew that I needed help, but there was no way I could find it. And the person who finally helped me was another strong Christian lady who was trained by the Institute for Functional Medicine, who was working out of a clinic, a naturopathic clinic, and she was training naturopathic doctors. And she said, look, she said, I will help you. She said, it'll be really cheap. It won't be super expensive, and I will help you, but I will train you. And also you have to be willing to be a guinea pig for my naturopathic doctors to learn how to help you. Right. And I was like, yes, I jumped at that. And, and so, that's part of how I got my own training too. Right. And so, so our program is very, very affordable. It's an 8-month program with daily support, both group and personal private support as often as you need it, right? With daily support every single day. And it's only $29.97, right? And so, and we take payments, of course, right? So people can definitely, it is affordable, right? And then, we've also got other little things that we do, because I've run across people who are, so desperately poor that there was no way they could even afford a payment or anything like that. And, for those people, I will work something out, right? I will, okay. Can you afford to get this one test? If you can afford to buy one test, which has nothing to do with me, that's just a lab charge. If you can afford to buy this one test, I'll help you analyze that test, right? And we'll at least get you started. We'll at least help you, to take some baby steps to get your health back, right? And and I also tell people the story too that when I was healing, let's not forget that if God wants you healed, you're going to get healed. Okay.
I agree
Because
with you.
yes, and let's not forget about the whole big spiritual aspect of healing, because literally I would pray, and I the one thing that I did that I could do when I was sick is I knitted and crocheted all the time, right? And so I got this idea, I'm just going to knit and crochet things and tell people, hey, I got to pay for my treatments. Maybe people will buy my stuff so I can pay for my treatments and my supplements. And they did, right? And then from that, you see, so, God always works out a way, okay? From that, there was a lady who bought one of these cute little hats that I made for her child. And she contacted me and she said, I hope, this isn't going to bother you, but I have a friend who runs this organization and they give grants to women like you. And would you be interested? I hope you don't think it's charity. I hope I'm not putting you down by asking you, but would you be interested in applying and talking to my friend? And I was like, wow, yes, I think I would. And I wound up getting money from these people for a whole year to help me pay for free, right? As a grant to help me pay for my treatments, right? And so look, where there's a will, there's a way. And don't discount that God is watching and that God wants to help you to get well.
Yeah. And it's powerful, that, because I'm also a big believer in God, and I do feel that when people are ready, the opportunities present themselves, and he's involved in that massively. I can speak for that for myself. And I think it's beautiful when you have people like yourself that really go the extra mile to make it affordable for people who are on low incomes. And in other words, people have no excuse because people also need to make a bit of effort, because I find that because it's not, you know, time and energy cost something. You know, you have your bills to pay, people have, you know, they need to make their way in life. So it also shows commitment on the part of the person, if whatever they can pay and what their budget is, have a budget, because there's always a bit of leeway. You know, maybe like I remember when I was paying for my alternative health treatments, I went without holidays. I went without new clothes. I went without some things because I wanted to prioritize my health in order to get well. So it does take that commitment from people. There are things that we can sacrifice, even if it is the soda and the wine or whatever it is. We can make a commitment to say, no, this money is going to be for my health, because without our health, what do we have?
Exactly. We have nothing else. If we don't prioritize our health, then the rest of life is just, it's not worth living like that, when you're just living in constant suffering and you're living in that place of being a victim of your illness, when none of that is really necessary, right? There are things that you can do to have a better mindset, that no, you're not a victim, that there are things that you can take control of, and maybe you won't get 100% well, maybe you'll only get 80% well, or maybe if you have, you know, long-standing, very serious disease, maybe you'll only get 50% well. But hey, that's better. Living in that space is much better than living in just a state of total, I'm just giving up and taking my pharmaceuticals and there's nothing I can do, because that's just not a truthful way to live, and it's not a responsible way to live, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, totally agree with you there. So yeah, absolutely. People need to know that there are options. Sorry, my dog is here wanting some affection. He's always nudging his little nose in. Come on, give me some cuddles.
I
Yeah.
love it.
There's always
My cats are all sleeping. They're just so lazy. They're just laying.
They're done for the day. Yeah, but it's lovely to inspire hope in people, so that, you know, that hearing from people like you as well, or from people that have done the journey, have done the work. It is work. It's going to take effort and patience and kindness to yourself, and whatever resources you have, allocate them, because in the end, like you said, it's so worth it. Because, you know, I remember the first therapist that I saw, she said, look, if you can't go to the loo in the middle of the night or whenever it is, if you're, like you said, your story about you struggling to get to the loo, you fell on the floor, you know, something is seriously wrong. That's no way to live, you know. And it doesn't have to be that way. It doesn't have to
be that bad. No. And who knows what you'll be able to achieve if you never try, right? Could I have even imagined that? There's my alarm.
Yes, no worries. We'll wrap it up now.
I gotta turn it off though. I gotta figure out how to turn it off now. There we go. Yeah, could I have ever imagined that I could have gotten this healthy, as sick as I was, right? I could have never imagined that I could have achieved this. Never. But I did, right? But I did. And, you know, and I don't think it's all my doing. You know, I think God played a very huge role in that. But God wants to play a huge role in all of our lives, right? I don't think I just received some little miracle, right? I think that this is something we can all do. And literally, you know, I know that because there's millions of people around the world who are using functional medicine and using the new science, and they are healing, they are getting better, right? And they're living in a better space, right? And so I know that it's not just a miracle that happened to me, that God singled me out and I got lucky. You know, there's you, there's me, there's all these people in the world who are doing this, and we can all do it. And we all just need to come together and, you know, make a decision. All right, I'm doing this today. I'm not farting around with my health anymore. I'm going to take control and take charge.
Exactly. We are miracles in a sense. I believe we are walking miracles, because we've proved the doctors wrong. It is absolutely possible. I'm sure you have your blood results. You can prove it. I have mine. it's on paper.
Absolutely.
And yeah, to encourage people to take that leap of faith and just go for it, get your life back. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, and just do what you can, you
Yes.
know,
Yeah.
do what you can and don't worry about trying to be perfect at it. Because guess what? I screwed it up so many times.
Me too.
Right? There were plenty of times when my doctor was like, Dory, you have to be 100% gluten free. Your genetics are such that you are very gluten sensitive. It's making you sick. It's making you inflamed. You must be 100% gluten free. You cannot touch the stuff. You can't play around with it. And what would I do? I'd go have a big old piece of pizza and a bunch of brownies, and then I'd make myself sick again. Right? I had to learn that lesson the hard way, and we
Yeah.
all do. So it's
Mhm.
not about walking this journey perfectly. It's about letting other people come and love you and take you by the hand and help you walk that journey. And when you fall down, okay, we pick you back up and you just try again. And it's
Exactly.
all good. It's
I can.
all
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It is a process, and you won't do it perfectly. I certainly did it perfectly. You know, you think, oh yeah, if I go without, like you said, the gluten, or I went vegan, oh, I'll have a little treat, you know, and then I feel it's terrible. You know, your guts are in a knot, and you're like, why am I doing this to myself? I know how to do it, but it's a process, and you get there in the end. When you get used to feeling good, then you're like, I'm sticking with this because you feel so much better, and it's just not worth it. It's not worth
you
it.
learn, your body trains you along the way, just like an athlete having to train for a marathon run. You don't just get up one day and decide, okay, I'm doing that 5K, and you go out and do it. No, it takes like a year of training and working at it and screwing up and picking yourself back up again. And right. And it's true with healing too. And one more thing that I'll leave you with too, that's very important, is that I honestly believe that the work that we're doing on our physical health is just the tip of the iceberg. I honestly believe that, the Lord allows, not that he causes it, but he allows everything that we're going through, and all the suffering that we're going through is for a reason. It's for a purpose. And we might not be able to see that good purpose that God has in our suffering in the moment that we're in it. But at some point in your life, you will be able to look back and you will see there was a really good outcome for that suffering. And I honestly believe that when we're going through the healing process physically, it's a bigger work in us emotionally and spiritually, to teach us patience, to teach us compassion for other people, to teach us diligence, right? There's so many lessons
So many,
that
yeah.
grow us on a spiritual, bigger level than just healing when we're going through this. So I don't think it's supposed to be a fast, easy process. I think it's supposed to be hard on purpose so that we can really grow and learn as people.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for your lovely insight, Dorinda. It's been a pleasure talking to you again.
Again, it's so nice talking to you too.
Yeah, lovely. Thank you so much for your experience, for your guidance, for your just giving of yourself and of your time as well. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome. This is a blessing to me. I absolutely get up every day wanting to help people.
Yeah,
The purpose that God has given me in my life now is what totally floats my boat, right? I love it. I've never been happier. So it's my blessing.
fantastic. It's good to hear. It's lovely to meet a like-minded individual. We get to pay it forward now, and there's
Yes.
nothing more enjoyable. There's nothing I'd rather do with my day.
Yeah. Isn't it awesome?
Yeah, really, really.
Yeah. And then you see people getting well, and then they're crying and they're like, I can't believe this is happening. And then I start crying. It's like, oh, it's the best. I mean, I don't think there's a better job in the world.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I'm early days in the process, but already, just hearing people expressing themselves, thinking, oh, I never heard of this. And, oh, this, when their mind opening to a whole other sphere of getting well in a natural way is so rewarding. It's so rewarding. Such a blessing, really.
Right. So let's tell them how to get to that masterclass. It's super easy.
Yeah.
Because this is where you can, start actually doing your research, right?
Yeah.
So it's at go.truewellnesstoday.net.
Excellent. And I'll get that written down and I'll put it in the description below the video so that people can just click and go.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
Make it easy.
Fantastic.
All right.
Thank you, Dorinda. And I will see you again soon, I'm sure.
We will talk again very soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you too. Thank you too. And enjoy the rest of your day.
Okay. You too, Eliza. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye for now.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.